Hey everyone! What if I told you that the name of one of the world's oldest, most profound religions wasn't actually what its followers originally called it? Today, we are diving deep into a fascinating story of geography, history, and philosophy that's all hidden behind what seems like a simple question. So, let's just get right to it. Are Hinduism and Sanatan Dharma the same thing? And if they are, why have two different names for it? This question, you guys, it gets right to the heart of how this ancient tradition sees itself versus how the rest of the world has seen it for centuries. So let's start by unpacking the name most of us know. First up, the word pretty much everyone uses, Hinduism. We're going to follow the breadcrumbs on this one, and I think you're going to be surprised. It turns out this whole thing started not as a religion, but as, believe it or not, a location on a map. Okay, get this. This is a huge bombshell right off the bat. The word Hindu, it's not there. It's not in the core, ancient scriptures like the Vedas or the Upanishads. The people who followed these paths in the beginning, they didn't use this word for themselves. It was a label given to them by outsiders. This timeline really tells the story. It all starts with a river, the Sindhu River, which we now know as the Indus. So the ancient Persians, they're looking across the water, trying to describe the people living on the other side, and they called them Hindus. And that name, it just stuck. Over hundreds of years, it went from a geographical tag to more of a cultural one. And then, fast forward to the British colonial era, and they basically put a neat little bow on it and called it Hinduism, a convenient single umbrella to cover all the incredibly diverse spiritual traditions of India. So if Hinduism was the name that was slapped on from the outside, what was the name from the inside? Well, this is where we get to the real philosophical heart of the whole thing. The term that many practitioners actually use is Sanatan Dharma. And when you break down the words, you immediately see why. Sanatan means eternal, ageless, something beyond human history. And Dharma, wow, that's a massive concept. But think of it like the cosmic law, righteousness, your duty, the very fabric that holds the universe together. So Sanatan Dharma isn't just a religion, it's the eternal way. It's so much bigger. And this was perfectly captured by the great philosopher Swami Vivekananda. When he was introducing these ideas to the West back in 1893, he didn't call it Hinduism. He called it the eternal religion. He was stressing these universal, timeless principles that apply to everyone, not just people from one part of the world. Okay, so we've got an external label and an internal philosophy. Let's do a little side-by-side, a head-to-head, to make this contrast super clear. So check this out. On one side, you've got Hinduism. It's what's called an exogenous term. It came from the outside looking in. And its emphasis is really on geography and culture. But on the other side, you've got Sanatan Dharma. That's endogenous. It comes from within the tradition. And its focus is totally different. It's on universal, philosophical ideas. So one is an outside label, and the other is an internal understanding. You know, here's probably the best analogy to make this click. Think about that line from the Indian Constitution. India, that is Bharat. Both names are totally valid, right? But they represent different things. India is the name the world knows, and it's rooted in that very same Indus River geography. But Bharat, that's the ancient internal name. It's packed with cultural and historical soul. And that, right there, is the exact relationship between Hinduism and Sanatan Dharma. Okay, so we've been talking about names and labels and history. But you might be thinking, who cares? Why does this distinction actually matter today? Well, here's why. Because Sanatan Dharma isn't just a name. It's a philosophy that offers a really practical blueprint for living a meaningful life. See, at the very core of this eternal way are the Purusharthas. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's the practical game plan, a framework that lays out the 4 great goals of a human life. And it's not a list of rules, but more like a guide to a balanced and fulfilled existence. Let's walk through them really quick. First, you have Dharma. That's your moral compass, your ethics, your duty. Then you have Artha. This is about building a life, prosperity, a career, security. But, and this is key, doing it ethically. Third is Kama. This is about the healthy enjoyment of life, passions, desires, creativity. And finally, there's Moksha, the ultimate goal, spiritual liberation, freedom, the big picture. And that's the beauty of it. It's a complete, holistic guide to being fully human. It's a framework for balancing our material needs and wants with our spiritual purpose. It says you can have both. So we started with a simple question about 2 names, but we ended up with this profound blueprint for how to live. And it really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? In our modern, crazy, fast-paced world, where we're all just trying to find some balance between our work, our passions, and some deeper purpose, could this ancient framework for a complete life be more relevant now than ever before?